All-inclusive sessions can develop into a national network to help others be inspired.
England captain, and taking us through the next 30 minutes, Dharmesh Sheth over there and Michael Bridge. Good evening, gentlemen. Also on the way, Liverpool's search for a new midfielder is back on the agenda after Fabinho's departure. News on not one but two players coming up. Now, we were going to go straight into Harry Kane, but there has been a development on a setback for West Ham. Dharmesh.
It's been a frustrating window so far for West Ham United. They're trying to bring in players following the sale of Declan Rice for £100 million, rising to £105 million to Arsenal. Now, one deal that looked like it was as good as done was Carlos Borges from Manchester City. He's a Portugal under-19 international. West Ham had done all of the hard work. We looked like it was going to be a done deal. He's in the last year of his contract at Manchester City. It now seems that there's been a change of heart from Carlos Borges. Having been very close to joining West Ham, it now looks like Carlos Borges could be on his way to Ajax. Ajax and Manchester City have obviously been in talks. It looks very close now, a deal for Carlos Borges, the Portugal under-19 international from Manchester City, to go to Ajax and not to West Ham United. We're just getting firm details of this, like confirmed to us as we're speaking just now. But as it stands, it looks like he's not going to go to West Ham and he's going to be on his way to Ajax instead.
Breaking news on the transfer show. Right, let's talk Harry Kane then, Michael. Developments on his potential move to Bayern Munich. So what's happened today?
Hi, Mike. Well, reports coming out today, Harry Kane is planning to stay at Spurs if no agreement with Bayern Munich or anyone else, we have to say, is reached before Tottenham's opening game, which is at Brentford Super Sunday in less than 2 weeks now. Now, no confirmation that's the case from Tottenham Hotspur. Interesting in this because there's no official set deadlines because, you know, if the weeks went on during the transfer window and Spurs were given an offer they couldn't refuse, then, you know, they'd accept it. And Harry Kane, you'd expect to want to talk to other clubs. So, but that's what we're getting at the moment. Now, the latest from Sky Germany, from on the table on Harry Kane, from Bayern Munich's perspective, is the total package Bayern were offering is worth €95 million plus add-ons. A 5-year deal would become the top earner at Bayern Munich. But there's no meeting scheduled with Spurs, we understand from our colleagues in Germany. But all parties are confident of a deal, as Bayern do plan to improve their offer. OK. I'm interested in Harry Kane amongst all of this, because last season when City were after him, quite a lot of noise from the Kane camp. No noise this time from the Kane camp. Is that significant? I mean, look, I think from Tottenham's point of view, and maybe Harry Kane's, you know, maybe shown him some intent, and maybe let's see what Tottenham can do in the window over the next few weeks. You know, Spurs still need quite a few players in. I'm sure Ange Postecoglou will want a few in, and they need 2 centre-backs pretty urgently. They've only played 2 pre-season games. One got called off against Leicester. So it's not been the ideal preparation for any of the players. But also, does this sort of ramp it up for Bayern Munich, ramp it up for Kane, ramp it up for all parties concerned, because it's getting on, isn't it? But the difference between now and the last couple of years was that Kane, we're not hearing from the Kane camp. I think there's a real difference there. But of course, you know, Bayern would like him in, but I'm sure Ange Postecoglou would like it sorted one way or another as well, because this is England's captain, England's record goal scorer, Tottenham's record goal scorer, one of their greatest ever players, and you feel that something needs to happen over the next week.
I think one of the other big reasons as well for the difference, what happened 2 seasons ago and this season, is because for Kane to have really got a move 2 seasons ago, he would have had to have agitated a lot more than he has to do now. Simply because back then, Harry Kane still had 3 years left on his contract. So he could say until he was blue, I want to leave, I want to go to Manchester City. But Tottenham held every single card. They knew they can keep him. He's got 3 years left on his contract. This time, whether Kane wants to go or not, he's in a more relaxed situation because he holds more of the cards, even though Tottenham will make the final decision because he's still under contract with them. The fact of the matter is this time he's entered the final year of his contract. So Tottenham will keep that dialogue open with Bayern Munich, simply because if Kane isn't going to sign that new contract in this summer's transfer window, which we're led to believe that's not going to happen, the only way Tottenham are going to get money is if they sell him in this transfer window, because then you're 3 or 4 months away from Kane being able to sign a pre-contract with Bayern Munich or any other club outside England ahead of the summer, and then a further 6 months away from being able to join any club in the world for no money at all.
That's not feasible for Spurs, that is it? Losing someone of Harry Kane's calibre end of next season for no money.
It's kind of unthinkable, but there's a potential that could happen. What we do know is as well from our colleague Paul Gilmer, as he reported yesterday, that he won't sign a new contract this summer. What if in the next few months Spurs start brilliantly under this very exciting manager? This manager, Celtic fans tell me, is one of the best things that's happened to them in so many years. But he needs tools. He needs defenders. You know, Spurs conceded 63 goals last season. But what if Spurs did enter the market in the next few weeks and Kane did stay beyond Tottenham's opening game and started bringing in some top-class centre-halves? Maybe he does. Then he becomes impressed. You know, there's been so much upheaval with the club over the last year, 2 years, with managerial departures, big name managerial departures. But yeah, from January onwards, who will he be thinking of? You know, people say he'd never go to Chelsea, he'd never go here, he'd never go there, but he would have every top club in the world looking at him.
Spurs fans might think this is unthinkable, but actually, does Harry Kane fit Ange Postecoglou? Postecoglou, everywhere he's managed, he has number 9s that run in behind. Harry Kane doesn't do that. Is Ange Postecoglou going, do you know what? If Harry goes, oh well, you know, and then I can turn around and say, well, you sold my best player if things don't go well. Yeah,
well, do you know, someone actually asked a similar question to that, Mike, in Australia to Ange Postecoglou. And I think Postecoglou pretty much said, look, this guy can do pretty much everything. He's that good. He
doesn't run in behind though, Michael.
No, but he does pretty much everything else. He's one of the best He's a creator. He won top.
It's Harry Kane.
He's Harry Kane. He won the Premier League Playmaker of the Year award. I think he'd just be glad to have a player like Harry Kane. I know what you're saying, and you know what he did with Celtic, but I think what Postecoglou would want now, and the next time one of us speaks to Ange Postecoglou, ideally he would like it done in one way or another. But of course he knows, as Erik ten Hag said to me last week in San Diego, knows we want to get it done. But football is not like that. When with the window we've got open till the end of August, these situations happen.
Did you notice, Darmish, you just slipped in, he's just been to California. Do you notice that? Yeah, OK.
You've been dropping it.
Let's talk Liverpool. We know they need a midfielder. Now Fabinho's gone, Darmesh. Romeo Lavia, are they working even harder to get him in the door now?
They definitely want him. They had a bid rejected earlier on this week, which was worth around £40 million. We understand now that Liverpool have gone back in with an improved offer, as we expected them to, for Romeo Lavia. And that was a guaranteed payment of around £40 million. And we understand that that bid, once again, has been rejected by Southampton, who are standing firm on around £50 million is what they value Romeo Lavia at. And Liverpool will have competition as well, because they won't be the only club that are interested in Romeo Lavia, because we understand that Chelsea are very, very keen on Romeo Lavia. They haven't gone all out with the bidding process yet. Liverpool have made their intentions clear by bidding for Romeo Lavia. We expect at some point Chelsea to formalise their interest in Lavia by maybe going in with a bid for the Southampton midfielder. But it should be said here that with Liverpool and with Chelsea, personal terms for Lavia not expected to be a problem for either club. But as it stands at the moment, Liverpool are the ones that are pushing. They've had 2 bids, one around £40 million all in, one around £40 million plus add-ons. Both have been rejected. We think Southampton are holding out for £50 million.
There's information as well talking about midfielders. Obviously, time is ticking and Liverpool do need at least one midfielder, and we understand maybe they want 2. Fluminense midfielder Andre, that they have spoken to Fluminense as a potential option. Now Fluminense, we understand, are reluctant to let him leave. A fee in the region of around £20 million has been discussed, but it sounds to us what Jurgen Klopp is looking for 2 midfielders and a defender. And of course, like we've just mentioned, a lot of these deals aren't going to get done by the time the first weekend of the season, because it's just not going to work that way with the deadline being at the end of the month. But yeah, Liverpool in for midfielders.
Feels like deadline day could be busy. Let's talk Manchester United. Let's talk Rasmus Højlund again, Darmesh. Any movement on this one today?
Yeah, it's just been confirmed to me now that he is in the UK now. Rasmus Højlund. He started his medical with Manchester United ahead of that move from Atalanta, which I'll remind you of is worth £72 million potentially. United will pay Atalanta £64 million up front, plus £8 million in performance-related add-ons. And I know there's been a lot of conjecture about the size of this fee, but if Manchester United end up paying £72 million, I think they'll be delighted. Because
it's a lot of money for potential. But that's all he is.
But what I'm saying is if they pay £72 million, then that will be the £64 million plus the £8 million in add-ons. And if that gets paid, that means that Rasmus Højlund will have achieved the ambitions that were agreed between the two clubs. So we could be talking appearances, we could be talking goals, we could be talking trophies as well. So if that all materialises,
it's a big if there.
Of course,
he's being linked with Haaland because his name sounds a bit like Haaland, and he's Scandinavian, and also he's quick. It's like, well, hang on a second, 72 million is a lot of money.
Of course,
for
it is.
Potential.
Of course, it is. But I think that Manchester United fans who are questioning whether this is too much money, once they continue talking about it, and I've spoken to United fans about this, they will always come back to, well, look, it seems to be Erik ten Hag's choice. And what Erik ten Hag has done since he's come to the football club, a lot of his signings have been players that he knows and that he wants. And they've come in. And what has Erik ten Hag done since he's become Manchester United manager? He's got them back into the Champions League with a third-place finish in his first season back in the Premier League, which some would have thought was unimaginable considering the state United were in when he took over, and even 2 games into his reign, and he won them a trophy as well. So this is off the back of the signings that Manchester United have made. So
they could have gone for Harry Kane. Why didn't they go for Harry Kane?
Well, because we've heard that Tottenham Hotspur do not want to sell to a Premier League rival.
But Spurs are getting pushed into a corner here, as we've said already.
But we've always said that Tottenham do not want to sell to a Premier League rival in this transfer window. Yes, that opens up the risk of them losing him for free to a Premier League rival next summer, but that's why they're keeping their dialogue open with Bayern Munich. And if you're thinking about what Tottenham would be charging Bayern Munich, for example, are you seriously telling me that if they were to sell to a Premier League rival, they'd get the same price as Bayern Munich?
I think it'd be 50 million more. On top of my head, Tottenham would not want to sell to a Premier League rival, and Daniel Levy deems them a rival. You know, if you remember Alex Ferguson in his book, you know how painful some of the negotiations were, because in the end they did get Berbatov off Tottenham, and he did a great job. Manchester United got Michael Carrick, and what a fantastic career he had. Probably one of the most underrated midfielders, but Spurs do not want to sell him to a rival.
And Manchester United are so aware of financial fair play regulations. So the transfer fee is one thing, the wages are going to be completely another. What wages would Harry Kane demand, and how would that impact Manchester United trying to comply with financial fair play rules? This is the information that I've been getting why this deal couldn't happen, let alone the fact that Tottenham are not going to countenance a transfer to a Premier League rival, let alone to Manchester United. So on Højlund, once that medical is done, he's expected to formalise the contract. We were told the contract is a 5-year deal, plus the option of a further year. And a formal announcement on this deal could come as soon as this week, because this is accelerating now. And if you think about what's happening this weekend, Manchester United have got 2 more pre-season friendlies before the season begins. They'll probably have 2 different squads for those 2 games. If they can get all of this sorted, who's to say that Højlund couldn't feature in one of these 2 games? They've got Lyon on Saturday and they've got Athletic Bilbao on Sunday. And 2 weeks yesterday, they kick off their Premier League season on the Monday Night Football against Wolves. If they can get all of this done and get him up and running in training and perhaps in a pre-season game, we may yet see him in the opening game of the season. OK, let's go to a break. Loads to discuss when we come back. Inter are chasing 2 Premier League strikers. We're going to talk Kylian Mbappe, one of the best strikers there's ever been. And what about Arsenal? Has their focus shifted? That and more to come. We'll see you in a moment.
Hello again, this is the Transfer Show. We're going to talk Kylian Mbappe now. Now, Michael, that deadline to activate his contract extension came and went. What happens now?
Well, we know he wasn't going to change his mind. We know PSG are unhappy with his behaviour. The key line here is that he also turned down the offer of a clause inserted into this contract extension, which would have guaranteed he could have left next summer. He's just not interested in any clauses whatsoever. In his mind, I'm staying until next summer, and the broad view in the football world is he's going to Real Madrid next summer. Now, he's also entitled to receive a loyalty bonus worth up to €60 million, which he doesn't get now, but eventually he will get it in instalments.
That's got to stick in the craw of PSG, that is.
Ouch, yeah. But I mean, what do PSG want? You know, they just want to sell him now, Mike.
To anyone.
Even loan him. They will listen to anything and anyone about any offers. I mean, we know Al Hilal put in that world record bid for Mbappe. They didn't want to know. But what we do know is PSG's number is there. If any club wants to come in with an offer, and the broad view from Mbappe is, I'm sitting this out, I want to join Real Madrid next summer.
And Darmish, let's be clear on this. He's done nothing wrong, Mbappe. He's just sticking to his contract.
There's two ways of looking at it. If you're the player, you could say, I've honoured my contract. PSG are probably looking at it and thinking, you're running down your contract. But
Nothing
I've said
wrong with
this
that.
many times. I've said this many times before on this show, and that is, last year we knew that this could come up because there was a 3-year contract that was signed until 2025, supposedly. We had the shirt shot 2025, but in reality, it really wasn't that way because it was a 2-year deal plus a 1-year option, and the 1-year option was with the player. And even though PSG were probably trusting and relying on Kylian Mbappe to extend that contract by a further year, we're not privy to what's happened behind the scenes, whether Kylian Mbappe hasn't been too enamoured with the ambition showed by PSG in the transfer market, or for whatever reason, but he's now decided, actually, I'm not going to trigger that contract, but I'm going to stay at PSG. PSG is thinking, no, you're not. We're selling you because we're not going to get any money out of you. And I think what the fear is now for PSG is because it's been made clear that they want to sell him, what's to stop Real Madrid making a derisory offer for him and maybe even still getting him for a so-called derisory offer?
Before we move on, they're hopeful of bringing in Ousmane Dembele PSG as well. So that's one to keep an eye on as well.
All right, we'll discuss that more at 7. All right, I want to whiz through a couple here.
Yep.
Everton, searching for a new striker. Tell us more.
Yeah, Everton really want to add some quality to their forward line. Of course, last week they brought in Arnaut Danjuma on loan, and now the Sporting Lisbon striker Youssef Chermiti is expected to undergo a medical later this week ahead of moving to Everton. Now, he's only 19. He's expected to sign for Everton in time to play his current club, Sporting. So they'll pay around £12 million plus £3 million in add-ons. But good news for Everton fans, potentially.
It's interesting, Darmish, because we're used to the Premier League gobbling up the players from other leagues. Things are changing now, obviously, with the Saudi element, but also some Premier League strikers could be heading to Italy. Tell us.
Yeah, so Inter Milan, if we go back earlier on in this window, it looked dead on they were going to sign Romelu Lukaku. He wanted to go to Inter, Inter wanted to sign him. And then it all went a little bit quiet and Inter pulled out of the deal because they felt that Romelu Lukaku was now negotiating with Juventus, one of their biggest rivals, and they said, we don't want to do this deal anymore. But they still want to bring in a striker. Now, they've gone in with a bid for West Ham for Gianluca Scamacca for around €20 million. That was rejected. We expect them to go back in with an increased offer, probably €25 million plus €5 million in performance-related add-ons. Scamacca, for his part, is understood to be open to that move from West Ham to Inter Milan. Now, he only joined last summer from Sassuolo for a fee of around £35 million, started 16 times.
Didn't go well, though, did it?
Scored 8 goals. While that's happening, Inter still retain an interest in the Arsenal striker Folarin Balogun, because after Lukaku's deal fell through, he was the one that Inter were focusing on. Arsenal, though, are thought to want £50 million for Balogun, and Inter aren't interested in signing him and can't do that deal at the prices being quoted. But for Inter to sign both Scamacca and Folarin Balogun in this transfer window, however unlikely, then I think the Arsenal price and the valuation would have to come down, but also Inter would have to sell from their current squad to raise funds to be able to do both deals. Monaco, though, are still very, very interested, and they're one of a number of clubs who want to do a deal for Folarin Balogun as well.
OK, so Balogun could go. Anybody else heading for the exit door at Arsenal?
Yeah, I mean, look, there's a lot of potential departures at Arsenal happening just now. Talks are continuing with Nottingham Forest over the goalkeeper Matt Turner. We know that there's lots going on in the goalkeeping department. Arsenal are interested in David Raya to provide competition with Aaron Ramsdale. If that was to happen, that'd allow Matt Turner to go. Forest, we think, want to bring in 2 keepers. They're in talks with Arsenal over Matt Turner, gap in valuation there. They're in talks with Manchester United over Dean Henderson, over a loan and an obligation. So plenty going on there. Albert Sambi Lokonga is another player that Arsenal will be happy to release. Burnley are in talks with Arsenal over Sambi Lokonga. Not a surprise, this one. Vincent Kompany had him at Anderlecht. He was the manager when they sold him to Arsenal, described him as the new Yaya Toure.
Wow.
Yeah, we think that they're after a loan deal with regard to Sambi Lokonga. Cedric Suarez, there's tentative interest from a number of clubs in Cedric Suarez. Nicolas Pepe was the record signing before Declan Rice arrived, and Nuno Tavares. There's interest in them. Arsenal will be happy to see them go as well. Pepe's in the final year of his contract. Tavares has got 2 years left on his current Arsenal deal. So plenty of comings and goings potentially.
And very quickly, Arteta said to me last week, 31 players is not sustainable. So there we go.
We're going to have to get a whole new show just for Arsenal outgoings, I think. Gentlemen, we've run out of time for this one, but we are back at 7 o'clock with much more. We'll talk Harry Kane in depth after the break. Sky Sports News. See you in a moment.